All right, people. We are finished with our physical therapy appointment. And even though we had a little hiccup on the way here with her unbuttoning her chest piece, she put it back on. She was a little upset going in, was punching me in the face while asking me to perform deep breaths to emotionally regulate her, and that's always fun with autistic children. But that's what you have to do as a parent. Like, it's your job to regulate yourself so you can be the example and grounding presence for your child. So even if your child is hitting you and biting you in distress, you have to just breathe and accept that there's something going on that obviously has put them into this stage of fight, and you gotta help them. So I said that I was gonna talk more about my marriage that is happening this year. And I've chosen not to talk about it for a lot of reasons, because I said in previous videos, I don't really agree with government marriage as a whole. I feel like it is something that is ordained by God and blessed by God, and if a marriage is supposed to happen in your life, a unity is supposed to happen, then you are blessed with children. And for a long time, I was with individuals that I didn't necessarily see myself growing with or being blessed by God with. And due to, I guess, culture, society in America, and my abuse that I went through as a child. I never remember which windows. And the sexual abuse I went through as a child, I kind of went through a hypersexual phase. It was hypersexual for me. It might have not been hypersexual for other people. But I was promiscuous, and I wound up I don't believe in really protection. I don't really believe in that, because again, I feel it kind of messes up with God's divine plan. Why are you protecting yourself? I get it for financial reasons. I get it, and I don't dismiss anybody who does that. I want to make that perfectly clear. If you're on birth control, if you use contraceptives, I'm not shaming you. I support you. You're doing the right decision for yourself. I'm just saying, for me and my lifestyle, my personal self and body and life, I just don't believe in that. It feels wrong. It feels wrong to me. And it's okay that other people do it. I support other people being safe and having safe sexual practices. More safety should be educated and distributed to people. Like, I encourage people who are active and promiscuous and on dating apps, I encourage them to get testing done regularly, because the regular testing for like STDs and stuff, they don't always do a full panel. You have to ask specifically for things like herpes. That's one of the ones that doctors don't even care about. They don't even really care about that anymore, because it's so treatable that they don't even care to look for it, because they just assume that everybody just has money to go get stuff from the store to pick up over-the-counter stuff. So, if you are active, please just take care of yourself. Be healthy. Be healthy. So, if you're using contraceptives, that's great. If you're not using them because you're crazy like I am, and you just believe it's all with God's will, even if you're a person like me who believes that she shouldn't have kids and doesn't want kids and stuff, but you still believe that it is God's plan, that's okay too, because that's who I am. I did not want to have kids because of the abuse that I ensued and the abuse that I have seen so many other people experience, and not even just SA, but psychological stuff, physical stuff. Like, there's various types of abuse. So not just SA like I experienced throughout childhood. So I didn't want to have kids, and I don't believe in marriage, which I stated. So it has been a process for me, because I've been with my partner for the past 7 years. We got together in late. We got together in late 2019, I think. No. The beginning of 2019 is when we started our relationship. Yeah. And then I gave birth to my daughter January 2020. That was our first kid. I wound up getting pregnant like literally less than a month of being with this man. And so to me, a person believing what I believe, I mean, this relationship is obviously ordained by God. I need to be with this person. This is obviously the right path for me. It just that right. So with my daughter, COVID hit in 2020. You guys know that. So we didn't go out. My husband has heart problems. My partner, whatever, future husband. My partner has heart problems, so he wound up having a heart attack, I believe, that year. And I wound up having to go to work then, and leaving him home with the baby and stuff, and it felt really wrong to me, and I really hated it, but I felt like society was like pushing me into making money. I mean, I had an apartment, I had a car, I had to make payments on. Oh wait, no, that was later. I mean, I did have a car and obviously gas and insurance and you know, keeping up with a car is a financial responsibility, but I don't think I was leasing a vehicle at that point. No, that was later. So, right. So, 2020. It was messy. It was a messy year. 2020. 2021 was a messy year. In 2023, I just couldn't keep up with. Oh, you guys, you slid over there. That's okay. You're still safe. Actually, can I adjust you without turning you off? Ah! I think I got it. I did! I'm a winner! Ah! Okay, sorry. That was probably super unsafe practices, but the people in front of me were going very slow on the exit for a second, so. Pennsylvania exits suck. Hate Pennsylvania exits. Whoever invented these Pennsylvania exits, y'all are crazy. How are you going 65 miles an hour and have this tiny little short exit? It doesn't make any sense. Y'all want us to die out here. Y'all want us to, whoever constructed all this, y'all wanted to die. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So, 2023, I wound up getting pregnant again in February. February of 2023, I believe it was Valentine's week. And it was kind of strange because I remember that night I was having that time of the month, and I don't really shy away from that stuff, whatever. I was having that time of the month, and I remember a point to take a break and get some air, and I saw like the full moon. I don't think it happened on Valentine's Day, but I know for sure it happened then. And so I got pregnant in February because of that session. I thought it was interesting that I was bleeding during that session and it was a full moon. So I wound up getting pregnant. And it's also weird because I was trying to do backdoor stuff to avoid pregnancy, because in my head I had it planned out. I had wanted my eldest to be 5 years old. I wanted at least a 5-year difference in between children, which obviously didn't happen. You know, daughter born in 2020, but son born in 2023. So the 5-year didn't happen, and that's okay because it's ordained by God. So obviously there's a reason. So I wound up giving birth to a son in October of 2023. Looks a lot like his daddy, acts a lot like his daddy. And so then we were discussing like how I want to move forward with contraceptives, because my OB said for mental health purposes and financial purposes, since, you know, he had his heart attack, he hadn't gone back to work. I was still trying to push through work and pregnancy, but I eventually just like gave up because I was having so many problems, and like physically I just couldn't handle like doing more than essentially like trying to sit and breathe and take care of my body. Like it was ridiculous. And So like working just wound up not happening for me. So with both of us not having work, we wound up in 2023 also losing our apartment. So had my apartment, had the vehicle I owned in 2023. That was the one that I leased. That was the one that I leased in 2023. Because I thought things were going to change. I thought that, you know, I was going to be supported at the job that I was at. I thought being transparent with things would help me. And it seemed to only hinder me. Trying to address certain problems within the company. And I talked about this before. I wound up just being on some ridiculous shifts, like being, how am I pregnant? And like being the only other person in charge of a unmedicated schizophrenic who pours honey on her face in the middle of the night. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like, that's not caring for your employees. And I'm not even blaming the schizophrenic, because obviously, like, she needs help. But to put a pregnant woman in that situation who has worked for your company for years and has always, on paper, outperformed with sales, like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I'm making you all your money. And I looked at the daily reports all the time, but whatever. So, lost my job, lost my apartment, wound up losing the leased car that year as well. I had planned on going to a homeless shelter, honestly. I had planned to have my kids stay with my brother, because he had offered. He was like, oh, well, like, just come be with us. And I was like, well, like, I was just thinking about going to a shelter, and I was willing to have my kids go to a shelter, and then I was willing to, like, have my kids stay, like, with my brother while I went to a shelter, or went to like, slept in my car or something, so it wouldn't be as burdensome on my brother. And like, I was trying to play around with all these ideas, you know, because I don't want to put a burden on my family, and like, this was obviously my problem. I've gotten myself into this situation of not keeping an eye on my bank account and the money that I was making, allowing other people to handle things. It's my fault. It's my fault that I'm in the predicament that I'm in. So, I made choices. I take responsibility. So I didn't want to burden my brother. I was willing to go to a shelter. I planned on going to a shelter. This is now the second time that I have tried to essentially, like, I've been in a precarious situation. I think before I talked about being an emancipated adult. And I was planning on going to a shelter back then when I was of age, of 18. But my brother said no. He said that that's stupid because he has a house and he would rather take care of family than have other people live there. Now, when we moved in, my brother gave up his master bedroom and his master bathroom for me and my partner and my kids. And I thought that was insane, because not only is he giving us his house, he's he's also giving us his bedroom. He wound up sleeping on the couch. And that was just ridiculous. So I worked with my brother and my partner because my brother had another family living in this house. So it was like a single dad and his 3 kids. And I was like, not to be rude, my brother, but, and I know you have your house and everything, but I'm not sure how it's gonna work with our family of 4, their family of 4. Like, I just don't know how that's gonna work when there's only a 3-bedroom house. It's a 3-bedroom modular house. So, like, to me, I was like, there's not space for 9 people to be in a 3-bedroom house. There's not space. And, you know, my brother's like, well, this guy is a single dad, he's paying rent, like, I can't just put him out. And I said, I understand that, and I'm not saying you should put him out, I'm just saying it's not going to work, and this is why I wanted to go to the shelter, because it makes more sense. They have more resources, they have more support. I'm technically an unmarried woman, even though there's a father of my children. I'm unmarried, so there's support for single mothers. Like, it was a viable option. Like, I understand the system. My aunt was a caseworker within the system. Like, I understand how it works. I understand that I would have gotten support. But being in that house, in a modular 3-bedroom with 9 people, it wasn't physically possible. And I was saying this too, I was like, the other kids, they're not young, they're teenagers. Like, they're teenagers and they're not taking care of things around the house. And the dad was working through his own stuff. I don't really want to comment too much about that right now. I think he's still working through stuff, and that's part of being human. So So I was just praying at that point, and I was like, look, I have this new baby. I've lost my house. I've lost my car. I've lost my job. I'm getting this baby not when I had planned it, for when it would have financially and physically made sense. Like, I'm just kind of at a loss here. It wound up that the family, the single dad, unfortunately lost his job, became unemployed, and then my brother was like, well, if you're not paying rent, like, it was one thing when you were paying rent and being a responsible, you know, person of the household, but you're not paying rent and then you're not, like, cleaning on top of it. So what are you really doing, like, sitting in your room all day, kind of thing. So single dad and his kids wound up having to move, which created more space for us, and I hope the kids are okay, and I hope the dad is gonna be done working through his stuff. But it's up to God. Sorry, I'm really tired. I didn't have coffee this morning. Dad wound up moving out parents wound up moving out. I get on medication. I want to say it was called like Zurzuvae. It was this new medication that they were rolling out that they said that you would only have to take for 2 weeks, and it's supposed to help you in the long run. Like the medication is supposed to work for months. So like, as a person who's bad at taking pills, this sounded very appealing to me. I wound up taking the Zurzuvae pack, the 2-week pack, and I wound up getting hypersomnia, where I was sleeping for 20 to 22 hours out of the day. I pretty much just kept the baby on my breast and would just like rotate and flip as much as I could, so he would just like be attached to me all the time during those 2 weeks. And I don't even really remember feeling like good and happy, and like I don't ever remember like getting the chemicals that the medication was intended for. I don't remember experiencing, you know, the lack of depression. The depression was still there. So after all that, then like I was starting to question myself, and I'm like, okay, so like, why am I still like upset? This is not the first time I've tried medication in my life. This is not the first time I've tried therapy. I was in therapy because they had postpartum therapy at that point. So I tried therapy again, and like all this stuff, and I was like, why is it still not working? Why is nothing working? I'm navigating all that. My partner tells me that he, and my OB tells me that she wants me to have some kind of control. It's okay, honey. And so we do try to talk about like contraceptives and things like that. My partner wanted me to get a tubal. Hey, what's wrong? What's the matter? Oh, you ripped your butterfly. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I can't fix. It's ripped. What do you want me to do that it's ripped?
Oh no! Yay!
It's broken. Honey, you literally ripped it. It's broken. I said I was going to talk about marriage, and I started talking about other things. And now I'm getting a call, so I might have to do a third video. Sorry, guys.